I'm going to short interview brother Salih. My first question is, what is East Turkestan? Is it a country located which place, which area?
East Turkestan is the homeland of the Uyghur people. It's actually the original homeland of all the Turkish people. It's a cradle of Turkish civilization. It's located in Central Asia, in the heart of Central Asia. It's bordered by 9 countries: China to the east, Russia to the north, and then you have India, Tibet, Pakistan, Afghanistan to the south. To the west, you have Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan.
And please describe for us what is a Muslim like in East Turkestan.
Currently, the situation in East Turkestan for Muslims are very dire. I mean, you can't freely practice your religion, yet alone you can't even do the basic things, that basic human beings do. It's not about just Muslims, but in East Turkestan, I mean, you can't pray, you can't fast. All the mosques across East Turkestan have been turned into Chinese political propaganda centers. Yet alone, staying away from mosques, there's other restrictions as well. Even inside your own home, you can't have a Quran, you can't grow a beard, you can't wear any headscarves for the women. Even Muslim names are like Muhammad, Ali, Jihad, and Omar, and among others are banned. So it's very tough to be a Muslim in East Turkestan.
Why the Chinese government adopt such harsh policy towards Uyghur Muslim in East Turkestan?
Well, the Chinese government, over the years since it occupied East Turkestan in 1949, it's been waging a slow but gradual colonization and genocide. So essentially, by now they have removed almost every aspect of Uyghur life, including their history, their culture. So the last thing that Uyghurs were able to hold on to is their religion. So that's Uyghurs use religion to express their differentness, their differences, to express themselves, to show that they're different from the majority of the Chinese, or what you and majority of the people of the world know as Chinese. So the Chinese government is fearful, that the Uyghurs will try to express their identity through Islam. So that's why they are cracking down on Uyghur Muslims and not like Chinese Muslims, like there's Hui Chinese Muslims, and none of these crackdowns, none of these harsh policies are implemented against them.
Okay, good. My third question is, what do you think the re-education camps have any time frame?
Excuse me?
Do this re-education camp at the moment in East Turkestan have any time frame, for example?
At the point, there is no. China has not, from what I've known, China has not given an exact time frame of how long you're going to be sentenced to re-education. There were initial reports that 6 months. Some are in there for 2 to 3 years. Some are sent there to 10 years. It just depends on whatever crime that you're charged with that will put you up into the concentration camps. But essentially, being thrown into a concentration camp, if you have traveled overseas, you're sent to a concentration camp. If you held a passport, you're sent to a concentration camp. If you contact anyone overseas, like you can have family relatives overseas, and if you call them or if they call you, that's enough excuse for them to send you to a concentration camp. If you are religious, and when I mean religious, if you even pray like 1 time a day, that's still enough reason to send you to a concentration camp. If you assert any aspect of Uyghur identity, then you are sent to the political re-education concentration camp. So far, we have not heard about anybody being sent into the concentration camp and being released, other than a few people who, elderly people, who encountered like medical conditions, and they were released on terms of that. But then you also have a lot of people, especially like Uyghur religious scholar Muhammad Salih, and he was 82 years old, and they killed him in the concentration camp. slowly you're having reports that people are being killed in concentration camps, including a 17-year-old boy who had traveled to Turkey when he was 15 for 4 days, and they took him to a concentration camp, and he died in this political re-education concentration camp, and nobody, his family was warned not to tell anybody about it. But there's so many people out there that are in concentration camps that might have died in concentration camps, because I get a lot of news from various Uyghurs from across the world that tell me their family members, someone in their family members or someone that they know has died in the concentration camp, but due to the sheer amount of the security and the overall surveillance state, it's hard to verify anything. Uyghurs are fearful to even talk to a journalist, be it local or foreign. So it's really hard to verify information, but there is no doubt that people are dying in these concentration camps.
Good. And my last question is the international community and the Muslim countries doing anything for the human rights violation in East Turkestan, or?
Unfortunately, that's a good question that we all ask. Are they doing anything? But if we look at what's been happening over the past 68 years of Chinese occupation, I mean, not one country or Muslim organization or Muslim country from the international community has spoken out against this genocide. I mean, the UN Chart 1947 Convention on Genocide specifically states what the conditions of genocide are. Forcefully taking and forcefully incarcerating large members or large groups of a specific ethnic group is part of genocide. Preventing births is part of genocide. Relocating or transporting their population is part of genocide. And China has been doing all of this for the past 68 years, especially since 2017. I mean, it's intensified. And anybody that goes to East Turkestan, anybody that reads about it, if you read about this situation, you know it's genocide. But the international community, due to the political and the economic advantage, it's mostly economic, their trade deals with China, they don't want to damage that, so they turn a blind eye to human rights and other violations, especially Muslim countries. When you would think, Muslim countries, if it's happening in Kashmir or in Palestine, if the Israelis were to burn the Quran, or if the Indians were to burn the Quran, the whole Muslim world is in uproar. But when it comes to East Turkestan, the Chinese, they openly burn it. They force people to take their janamas, to take their prayer rugs, to take all religious symbols, to take the Quran and burn it in mass burnings. Yet not one word from any Muslim country or any government or any Muslim organization.
Okay, good. Another question is, do you have any message for NGO or the Muslim communities around the world?
Yeah, our message has been the same. I mean, if they truly say that they truly have any humanity in them, don't turn a blind eye to the situation. I mean, where are your morals? Where are your values? These are people just like you. Just because they're Muslim or just because they're Turkish does not mean that they're any less human than you. We all bleed the same. We all are human beings. I mean, these are violent people. These are innocent people that are being massacred over the past 68 years. Yet the world governments and NGOs refuse to do anything about it. They refuse to even voice any condemnation, to voice any grief, any concern over it. Instead, they just turn a blind eye. But when it comes to some smaller situation, let's say someone's headscarf is pulled, in London, the whole media is on that. All the Muslim media is talking about that, and they're up in the streets. But when it comes to mosques being demolished in East Turkestan, people being forcefully converted, into atheists, turned into atheists to denounce their religion, Qurans burned, and all these stuff, the international community is silent. Especially the Muslim countries, especially countries that like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran, that say that they're the protectors of Muslims and that they represent Muslim interests. Where are you? Where are you? Where is the UN? Where's the UN when there's violations in East Turkestan? When there's millions of people dying, where's the UN? That's all. That's the only question I have is where are you? Are you truly able to uphold your promises to the international community? Be real to yourself. Be real to us. Don't just turn a blind eye. When it comes to someone else, you rush in, but when it comes to us, you turn a blind eye. That's my message. We are just as human beings as you are. We are just as Muslim as you are. So don't forget us. And we want you to uphold your values, uphold your moral values, uphold your dignity as a human, and to uphold human dignity. That's all we want. We want to live normal like you and everybody else. We don't want violence. We don't want anything like that. We just want to be equal with everybody. So that's what we advocate for, and that's what we're calling for. Thank you.
Thank you very much for interview. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good day.